Death is a mystery that has always intrigued humanity. What really happens when we leave this world? Is there something beyond the reality we know? And what if someone said that they crossed that limit and returned with an urgent message, something that can change everything we thought about our existence? This is not just a story. It is a testimony, a recounting of an experience that defies the laws of reason and science, yet carries an immeasurable spiritual weight. What was revealed not only confirms the existence of a dimension beyond our own, but also brings a powerful truth about a specific people and their role in spirituality. What you are about to hear may shock you, may challenge your beliefs, but above all, may open your eyes to a reality that has been hidden for far too long. If you are not yet subscribed to the channel, take this moment to subscribe. Here, we reveal the deepest secrets of spirituality, bringing truths that many try to hide. Activate notifications so you don't miss any video, and if this topic has sparked your curiosity, leave your like so that this knowledge reaches more people. Now, prepare yourself, for this story goes beyond what you imagine. It was an ordinary morning, with nothing indicating that that day would change my life forever. The sun was rising slowly, painting the sky with shades of orange and gold. The world was following its usual rhythm. The streets were beginning to fill up and everything seemed as it always was. I had simple commitments for that day, a trip to the supermarket, a quick stop at the bank, and a visit to a friend's house. Nothing out of the ordinary, but what began as a typical routine ended up becoming the most profound and transformative experience of my existence. I was driving peacefully along a quiet road. On the radio, my favorite song was playing, creating a serene atmosphere. I did not imagine that in a matter of seconds, everything would change drastically. Out of nowhere, a truck ignored a traffic light and barreled straight into my car. There was no time to react, nor space to escape. The impact was overwhelming. Everything became a whirlwind of sound, force, and destruction. The twisted metal, shattered glass, and the car spinning like a helpless toy in the storm. My last conscious thought was a mix of disbelief and despair. This cannot be happening. Then silence. At first I thought I had just fainted, but I quickly realized that something was very wrong. I was still there, conscious of everything, but separated from my body. I was floating above the wreckage, watching myself. It was a surreal moment. I saw paramedics running towards me, their voices filled with urgency. My body lay still, lifeless, but my consciousness was present, observing everything from a perspective I never thought possible. I should have felt fear, but instead I was enveloped by an indescribable calm. It was as if, deep down, I already knew what was happening. And then, everything around me began to change. The sounds of sirens became distant echoes. The material world gradually disappeared, as if it were being erased from my perception. I was enveloped by a darkness that was not frightening, but rather deep and imposing. And in that moment, I knew that I had crossed a threshold. The fear I thought I would feel never came. Instead, I was filled with a sensation of absolute peace. It was like passing through an invisible door into a reality that had always been there, but hidden from human eyes. At first, there was only darkness, but there was something more. A presence. Something waiting for me. I was not alone. An invisible force guided me, gently pulling me forward. The air, if I may call it that, was charged with energy, something that transcended any earthly experience. Then, a light appeared. Small at first, distant, but growing more and more. But this light was not just an ordinary illumination, it was something alive. It pulsed, radiated warmth and love, enveloping me like an embrace that penetrated to the very depths of my being. I was led to it, not by walking nor flying, but simply being transported, as if the very space around me were moving. It was then that I felt a presence. It was powerful, overwhelmingly grand, yet at the same time profoundly familiar. It was as if my spirit already knew who was there before my mind could comprehend. I did not need to ask. Before any doubt arose, a voice spoke to me. "You are here because you need to see." The voice did not come from outside. It filled my entire being, every cell of my existence. It was not only heard, it was felt. And in that moment, I understood. This experience was not a dream. It was not a hallucination. I had crossed into a dimension beyond life itself. Time did not exist there. There was no past nor future, only an eternal present. And then, the space around me began to change. First, I saw figures, beings of light moving in the distance. They were not human, but they were not entirely unfamiliar either. There was something in them that resonated in my soul, as if they had been waiting for me for a long time. One of them approached. It did not possess a visible face, but its presence radiated incomprehensible wisdom and peace. "You are ready to see." And in the next moment everything changed. The space around transformed. Shadows dissipated, revealing something beyond any comprehension. I saw the earth, but not as we know it. It was enveloped by waves of energy and light, connecting all things. I saw thoughts traveling like beams of light, prayers rising like burning flames. Some reached their destination, others were lost before fulfilling their purpose. And then I saw something that made me hold my breath. A rupture, an invisible battle between light and darkness, a war that had been waging long before the time we know. It was then that he appeared. The light around intensified, gathering into a single radiant form. My soul recognized him before my mind could react. It was Jesus. He was not an image. He was not merely a figure from the scriptures. He was more real than anything I had ever known. His presence filled the entire space, and at the same time, he was there with me, looking directly into my eyes. His eyes. They were not just eyes. They contained entire galaxies, secrets of the universe, the very infinity. And within them a love so deep that I felt completely known, completely safe. He said my name. And in that instant I understood that nothing would ever be the same. I felt small before him, but not in an insignificant way. It was a different kind of humility, as if my soul knew it was in the presence of eternity itself. Had there been knees to bend, my soul would have already been prostrate before him. But he did not demand that. His gaze was not one of judgment, but of pure love, a love that permeated every part of my being. "You were brought here to see and to understand," he said. And in the next moment, the space around us changed once again. I saw images, visions appearing around us, as if the very universe were unfolding before me. I saw the Earth, but not as a mere planet. It pulsed with energy, with threads of light connecting every human being, every thought, every choice. I saw how faith shone like flames, while fear and doubt created shadows that spread. But then I saw something that changed everything. There was a group of people whose light shone in a different way. They did not simply emanate light. Their energy moved with purpose, as if they were direct conduits of divine power. They were black. Jesus looked at me, and his gaze was serious, but full of compassion. They were chosen for a purpose, but the world tried to break them. I saw history unfold before me. I saw the suffering that this people endured through the ages, slavery, oppression, injustice. I saw how, repeatedly, attempts were made to strip them of their identity, their culture, their connection to God. But I saw something even more powerful. Despite everything, their faith never broke. Even in times of unimaginable pain, their prayers continued to rise like flames that could never be extinguished. I saw ancestors crying in prayer, pleading with God for protection, for deliverance. I saw humble churches filled with voices singing praises, even when the world tried to silence them. And then Jesus said something that made my heart tremble. The enemy fears them. It was then that I understood. The reason this people faced so much suffering was not because they were weak, but because they were too strong. Because within them there was a spiritual connection that the world could never break. Jesus showed me how every attempt at destruction, at weakening, was in fact a direct attack on their importance in the spiritual plan. They were made to lead, to heal, to guide humanity back to the light. But the world made them forget that. Distractions were placed in their path. False narratives were built to convince them that they were less than what they truly are. They must awaken, Jesus said, his voice laden with urgency. And then I saw something frightening. The spiritual realm was at war. I saw shadows moving across the world, whispering lies into people's ears, fueling division, fear, and despair. I saw dark forces attacking this people in every possible way, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And yet even in the face of all this, I saw lights emerging, people awakening, men and women who began to remember who they were, who began to reclaim their identity, their strength. They were praying again, and their prayers were like walls against the darkness. Jesus looked at me and said, "Tell them that time is short." I felt the weight of those words. It was not just a call for a group of people. It was an alert that the window of opportunity was closing. I saw spiritual doors opening, offering a path back to truth. But I also saw that many people were too distracted to notice. Some hesitated, fearful of accepting their true purpose. Others simply did not believe that they could be so important. But Jesus showed me something more. There were those who were ready, people who carried within them the power to change not only their own lives, but the very spiritual destiny of the world. They were the warriors of light, and their time was now. My heart tightened as I realized that my time there was coming to an end. I did not want to go back. How could I return after everything I had seen? How could I live in the world knowing that most people were still blind to this truth? But Jesus approached and touched my heart, and in the next instant, I felt the deepest peace I had ever experienced. "You have seen," he said, "now you must speak." Then everything began to fade away. The celestial glow, the voices of angels, the visions of what was to come, everything began to dissolve as I was pulled back into my body. The shock of returning was intense. My lungs burned as air re-entered. My eyes opened and the first thing I heard was the sound of hospital monitors beeping. "She's back!" The voices of doctors and nurses echoed around me. I could barely move, but I knew I had survived. And more than that, I knew why I had returned. In the days that followed, I struggled to find words to describe what I had experienced. The world seemed slower, denser, as if my soul had not yet adjusted to being here again. But inside me, a truth burned with a force that could not be ignored. They needed to know. Black people needed to know that they were not forgotten, that they were never merely victims of a cruel history, but rather spiritual warriors chosen for a divine purpose, and that the time to awaken had come. Since I returned, I have noticed signs everywhere. I see people beginning to question the lies they have been told. I see young people searching for something deeper, something true. I see communities beginning to unite, despite all the forces that try to separate them. This is not a coincidence. It is the awakening. Jesus made it clear. Distractions, materialism, divisions, all of this is part of a plan to keep them asleep, to prevent them from seeing their true power. But something is changing. The world may try to ignore them, may try to silence them, but the truth is that the light within them can never be extinguished. Now, the choice is before each one. Time is running out. The door is open. The question is, will you cross it? If you have come this far, know that this message did not reach you by chance. Something within you already feels that there is a greater calling, something that the world tried to extinguish. But now the truth has been revealed. The choice is before you. If this message touched your heart, share it. Do not let this truth be forgotten. Subscribe to the channel to continue discovering hidden secrets of spirituality. Time is short and the door is open. The question that remains is, are you ready to cross it?